going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. You know who it is by now.
Jimothy.
So, ladies and gents, we are back here with some more new shiny cardboard and cardboard that I'm very interested in, by the way. Now, I've actually had this deck for a while and I have not messed about with it. Shout out to my friend Tom, who definitely has taken this to locals and taken a few names. But Magistus is a archetype that hasn't really been competitive in any sense or in any way of the imagination. It's been a bit, I'd say, less than rogue. The cards don't really mesh well together. There's a lot of weak starters. There's a lot of it's quite costly to get your cards to get your play started, and some of the cards just don't do much. Zoro being an outlier, and obviously we've seen Artemis in Invoked, and this is where the lore ties in, and this is why it's quite interesting. So we've got two new Magistus cards that kind of like bridge the gap. So without wasting any more time, ladies and gents, let's just get into the cards. So two cards released. First one being Gift of the Magistus Crowley, or Crowley the Gifted of Magistus. Obviously the translation will change. He is a level 4 dark spellcaster effect monster, 1800 attack, 1000 defense, and it reads: you can only use the first and second effect of this card name each once per turn. If this card is added to your hand except by drawing it, you can special summon it. Wow. Okay. I'm trying to think of some instant applications. Obviously, if you search this card, it jumps onto the field like Snake Eyes Poplar. But I'm trying to think of any kind of application where you can like retrieve it from the graveyard in any way and special summon it that way. So in a sense, it's an extender. You definitely can search this out in its own archetype. I'm just trying to think beyond its own archetype, maybe if it has any more applications anywhere else, just to see how much of a power card it could potentially be. But yeah, that's really good. It's an extender, by the way, so yeah, not complaining. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can fusion summon one Magistus or invoked fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as material. If this face-up card is used as a fusion material, it can be treated as Alistair the Invoker. That is very interesting. So, let me think about this. You add it to your hand, you special summon it, and then it forms a fusion monster depending on what you've got on field or in your hand. Now, obviously, it can be treated as Alistair, so if you're playing any kind of light-based decks, you can just instantly grab yourself a Macabre. But you can also go into some of the other more like niche ones. So, I don't know, if you've got a water deck, for example, you can make Kaitus and just sits on field. It's really interesting, actually. There's obviously a few applications with this, and depending on where you are in the game state, I can't remember which one it is. I'm not sure if it's Kaliga, invoked Kaliga, which is limits you to the number of monster effects you can resolve each turn. And I know that was being used in virtual world at one stage, but if you could actually chain this to an opponent's like card effect or something along those lines, it could be really interesting. So this is a solid card. I'm not gonna lie, ladies and gents, this is a very solid card. It's obviously not as strong as some of the other cards that are out there, but for its own archetype and for what it does, it's very strong. So searching this off equipping an Artemis to one of your Magistus monsters is solid, by the way. So yeah, I'm quite impressed with that. The next card, or so the final card, is Ver Magic Hikari no Lacrima, or Ver Magic Lacrima of Light. Obviously the names might generally change once we get these cards, but let's get into it. So, card is always treated as a Magistus and a Witchcrafter card. So there's instant application there, especially with Witchcrafters that can kind of like mess about with the spells or manipulate the spells in their graveyard, which is really interesting. So activate one of these effects, but you can only use each of the effect of this card's name once per turn. So if you control a Magistus or Witchcrafter monster, send one Spellcaster monster or spell from your deck to the graveyard. Foolish Burial is always going to be a nice effect. That is super solid. I can't think of anything off the top of my head now because it says Magistus or Witchcrafter monster, and it's been a while since I've messed with these cards. Wait there. Pause. So it says send one Spellcaster monster or one spell from your deck to the graveyard. So that's anything. This is going to take some playing around with, ladies and gents. That's anything. I'm just instantly trying to think of like applications. So obviously it can play around Drone. because if you've got a way to get what you've sent to the graveyard out of the graveyard by any kind of like card effects, you've actually essentially played around Droll, which is really interesting because Droll seem to pick up in the meta now. But just being able to send any spell or spellcaster, like, I don't know, Angel of Blue Tears, for example, that's just something that comes to mind. You do need to control a Magistus or Witchcraft monster, but that is not hard to do, especially with the way that the Magistus archetype pans out with his extra deck monsters, which is really interesting. Anyway, the second effect, when your opponent activates a card or effect, special summon one Magistus or Witchcraft monster from your hand or deck. Okay, so it's a quick place. This card's super flexible. So hold on, you can Foolish Burial any spellcaster or any spell card from your deck to the graveyard, and then if your opponent plays Yu-Gi-Oh, which 9 times out of 10, if you're sitting across from your opponent, they're going to be playing Yu-Gi-Oh, you get to special summon a Witchcraft or Magistus monster from your hand or deck. So then you could actually special summon this guy, and that's an instant interruption. That's great. Okay, I see the synergy. I see what Konami's doing here. So these two in tandem, ladies and gents, they're really strong. It's going to be interesting to see what else the archetype brings, but these two cards are definitely a nice addition. I won't say no to them. I quite like rogue decks, and I like things like this because this quick play spell card is super flexible. Like, if you build your deck correctly, you can do a whole host of things with being able to like Foolish Burial or just get a Witchcraft monster or a level 4 monster or whatever level you need onto the field, which I think is like invaluable. So definitely one to watch out for, ladies and gents. Very, very interesting stuff. And that is it from me. What do you think of the 2 new additions? Do you reckon Magistus is going to be playable? Because it definitely is not playable right now. Not in any kind of sense of competitiveness. But hopefully that will change with the addition of these 2 cards and potentially what's coming further on down the line. But anyway, we find ourselves at the end of another video. As always, if you do like this content, you know what to do by now. Hit that like button, share, subscribe, all of that beautiful good stuff, and I will definitely see you guys on the next video. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.